something switched in me and it went beyond, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. It went to the core of my being of this has to stop. It went to, I'm so turned off by men in general right now that I'm going to continue to speak out, but I'm also going to reserve a lot of energy for building an amazing life. The energy that I was putting into dating and trying to find a man, hoping a man would show up, I'm going to rechannel that and I'm going to put that into me. It's what I've been doing. I'm going to do it more. Welcome to You Have the Power, the road to truth, freedom, and real connection. If you've ever wondered why you keep attracting emotionally unavailable men, questioned your own instincts, or found yourself staying quiet just to keep the peace, you are in the right place. I'm Darla Ridilla, a voice and podcast launch mentor and creator of the Magnetic Connections Pathway. This podcast isn't about fixing yourself. It's about finding your voice. Together, we'll explore what it means to lead yourself through presence, agency, and empowerment, breaking old relationship patterns, building standards with a backbone, and creating relationships rooted in emotional willingness, starting with your relationship with yourself. Because the moment you stop negotiating with yourself and start honoring what you already know, that is where your power begins. Let's get started. Just recently, something happened to me that is part of a pattern that I've been observing for a while. But I feel like this incident that I'll describe here shortly really shifted things for me. There's a pattern that I've been noticing more and more, and it's become so prevalent that I don't even know if I want to date. That's the honest truth. I'm seeing a lot of entitlement. I've seen men interrupting, correcting, admonishing women, not letting us have our own feelings, our own space, our own needs being met. Whether it's something simple like I've seen social media post about guys like interrupting women who are videoing themselves at the gym, lifting weights, and they get into the video. One girl was dribbling a basketball and he hit the basketball to make it go away from her. They try to one up us, they try to interrupt. They are so fucking insecure that they cannot stand for us to either be better at something or to have our own space to do something without them being part of it. That sense of entitlement is really about an insecurity within themselves while they are trying to project the exact opposite. It really is about them not being in the center of everything and them not liking it. The other pattern that I'm seeing is that they're not being held accountable, whether it's by other women or more importantly, by other men. There are a small number of men out there in our society who are aware, who are emotionally willing, who are accountable. And they have actually seen how the misogyny and the patriarchy is very toxic and it's downright abusive to women, but they're not holding other men accountable. When you remain silent, you are just as guilty as the person who is doing the crime, the abuse, the manipulation, whatever you label it. If you observe it and you don't do anything to stop it, you're just as guilty. I'm seeing this entitlement in a lot of different forms, whether it's a troll on one of my channels, or it's someone who's publicly berating a woman, or it's someone in a private conversation that's trying to make a woman small, insulting her, objectifying her body, thinking she's just out there to be his personal servant and sex slave. Whatever the situation is, I'm seeing it everywhere. I have really been trying hard to not hate men. But I gotta say, after this story that I share with you here in a moment, I had some moments where I had a very strong disgust and hatred, not towards all men. I know there's a very small percentage of men, maybe 1%, maybe 5%. I wouldn't say more than 5%. I mean, statistically, I don't know. I haven't done a study. This is just my observations based on the people that I know. And I do know a couple of women in my life who are married to healthy, emotionally secure men. So they are out there and they married in midlife. They didn't marry at 20. They married in their 50s and 60s. So I know they're out there, but of all the people I know, I probably only know two. I had a moment after this incident that I was so disgusted. I didn't want anything to do with men at all for any reason. So I'm sure you're asking, what exactly happened to tip the scales? So I go paddleboarding weekly with my dog. I had just had this amazing morning, about 3.5 hours of just relaxing on the lake. We just floated with the water, paddled a little bit, laid down, and just kind of rested on a paddleboard. And I'm feeling awesome. I had a very busy afternoon, but I was feeling very relaxed and just really enjoying my downtime, no phone time, all of that. And as I'm pulling into the dock, I pulled off to the side. There were boats that were loading and unloading. And as I was getting my dog off the paddleboard, trying to get the paddleboard off of the water, trying to make sure that she didn't run into traffic while I got her back on her leash, this guy, as he was pulling away, had asked me while I was in the process of doing that if the kayak on the other side of the dock was mine. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I noticed he seemed a little agitated and didn't understand why. So he pulls his boat off the ramp and he goes and he parks. Next thing I know, he came back from his car and he's yelling at a woman about how she inconvenienced everybody and she shouldn't have her kayak there and she was holding up the line. So, mind you, there was plenty of room for one single file boat to go in and out. She was not impeding that traffic. If someone wanted to try to go double, there really wasn't room for it, and no one was doing it in that moment. Everyone was choosing to go in and out. There wasn't a long line. He was already out of the water and ready to leave. There was absolutely no reason for him to approach her and yell at her in public. First of all, she hadn't done anything. She wasn't impeding traffic. And it was over. Even if she had, the incident was done. He was out. He was free to go. And to me, this was about power control, manipulation, taking up space, making her feel bad. I'm trying to get over there because I wanted to get in between them, physically in between them, and protect her because I'm not one to stand by when I see this kind of shit go down. But I also had my dog to think about, and I wanted to make sure I got that board out of the water so it didn't get swept up in the waves. By the time I got all that done, he had already walked away, and I hear her apologizing to him. And I said to her, honey, don't apologize to him. You did nothing wrong. Fuck him. And she's just like so grateful that, I recognized her. And next thing I know, the guy that's next in line starts saying stuff to her. And I immediately got up on the dock and I'm like, stop it. Leave her alone. Leave her. Don't. The second man that was talking to her said, oh, I'm being nice. Here's the thing that I thought about afterwards. There's nothing nice about entitlement. There's nothing nice about supporting someone who just verbally abused a woman in public. There's nothing nice about defending him and not supporting her. His response to me was he was just frustrated. I said, that is not frustration. That is disrespect towards women and entitlement. And he said it again about the frustration, and I repeated it. I said, this is disrespect towards women and it's entitlement, and I won't tolerate it. And then he got that look on his face that every woman who's listening right now is going to know what I'm talking about. That placating, God, she's overreacting, ridiculous, over emotional woman, dismissive. I don't know what the word is, but you know what I'm talking about, where they don't take us seriously. Well, something I said the other day after this incident occurred is that the problem isn't that women are too emotional. It isn't that we're overreacting. The problem is we've been silent for too long and you have gotten away with this behavior. And now that we are holding you accountable, you're just uncomfortable and don't like it. And if you're going to label me as being too emotional, so be it, because I'm just getting started, motherfucker. There's several dynamics that happened in this incident. First, we have the man thinking he has the right to yell at a woman in public when she hasn't even done something wrong. And then she feels conditioned to apologize. And in the conversation after all this stopped, she even said again, well, I felt like I should apologize. And I said, no, you didn't do anything wrong. There's no need to apologize. So here is this societal conditioning that we are supposed to take on the emotional labor. We are supposed to take the blame for his bad behavior. He's abusive towards her, and she's supposed to say she's sorry? What kind of crap is that? And then we have the man who backs him up, who doesn't defend her and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That was wrong what he did. He defended him, which perpetuates the behavior. And then when I tried to hold him accountable, when I called him out, he gave me that dismissive look that we all get. Like, oh my God, here we go again. Almost like he didn't roll his eyes, but he did inside. It was that look of, damn, shut the fuck up, bitch. But I'm not going to shut up, because what you men are doing is wrong. We have a right to take up space. We have a right to stand up for ourselves. And we don't have to apologize to you for taking that space, for doing what we need to do. And we certainly don't need to apologize to you when we haven't even done anything wrong. I became so angry after this incident. And if you can think about the contrast, I've just spent 3.5 hours on my paddleboard. I'm relaxed. I'm just chill. I'm feeling good. So it wasn't like I walked into this already agitated, because I didn't. And then within seconds, I'm enraged to the point that I couldn't calm down for a good couple of hours. And that incident stayed with me all day. And if you think about this woman, she probably had the same reaction. She was only there to enjoy her afternoon on the lake as well. And this man busts in on our day and treats her like crap. I'm sure it made it hard for her to relax after that. The rage was so deep in me that it really did flip a switch. And I was so fucking angry that, like I said earlier, I didn't want anything to do with men. I came home and stayed inside. I didn't even want to be out on my patio in case a neighbor or two that occasionally says hello that are male said anything, because I just wanted to stay away with men. He's never done anything disrespectful, but I was so disgusted with men at that point. And I think part of it is this isn't an isolated incident. This isn't about one day on a boat ramp. This isn't one man thinking he has the right to yell at someone, a woman. This is about a pattern I'm seeing over and over again. And that rage that erupted in me was all the past things that have happened. It was an accumulative thing. All the abuse I have incurred by men over the years, all of the dismissal, all of the objectivity, all of it came to a boiling point for me. And you know, that's not a bad thing. Anger actually is a very productive thing, because in its right form, it can actually move us to action. It can actually create that sense of, I'm not going to take this anymore. I didn't react violently. I don't believe in doing that. I just had this thought pattern of, what the hell? This has got to stop. And I remember as I was talking to the lady, and the guy was still over in the parking lot off to the side doing whatever he was doing with his boat to leave, I chose not to go over there and confront him like he confronted her. I was darn tempted to and wanted to, because I was so furious. But at that point, I didn't want to escalate the situation, and I just wanted him to leave. And I noticed there was a woman with him. And what I felt even stronger about is I wanted to go over to that woman and say, you deserve better. If he is willing to yell and berate a woman he doesn't even know in public, I can't even imagine how he treats you in private. If he has that much of a temper, that much impatience, that much entitlement, I can't even imagine what he does when no one's watching him. When I talked earlier about men getting into women's videos, interrupting them, it's very intrusive. This man intruded on her day. He intruded on mine vicariously. And I see this all the time. You see it when a woman walks down the street at her lunch hour and the construction workers catcall her. Who gave them the right to be intrusive. She didn't ask to be engaged in conversation. She didn't ask to be objectified. She didn't ask to be yelled at for something she didn't do. Who do you think you are that you think you have the right to treat anyone like that, let alone a woman? And whether you're a man or a woman, when you observe this behavior and you don't stand up, you're part of the problem. I encourage women to band together. That's why I stood up for her. Because as women, we've got to protect each other because the men aren't protecting us. While it's their job, they're supposed to be the leaders, the protectors. They're not. As a whole, not everyone, but as a collective, they're not. So we need to take it upon ourselves to protect ourselves. And whether that means standing up for another woman, whether that means blocking and deleting them, whether that means confronting them in the moment when they're doing something wrong, whether that means not dating, getting out of a relationship, finding more women friends, whatever it is, we need to protect each other. There was an incident a few years ago. I was out dancing with some friends, and there was a guy there who I already didn't like. I had been out on one date with him a few months before, and he never followed up after the second date. So when I saw him after that, the next few times, I kind of gave him the cold shoulder. And he had the nerve to come up to me and say, "Why are you mad at me?" And I'm like, "You never called me back." And he's like, "Oh, well, the phone but works both ways. You could have called." I'm like, "That's not my job. You're the man. You need to follow up." So I already didn't like him. I felt like he was a man child. And I heard stories of other people, women, that they were even shocked that he paid for the date. Maybe he just got the vibe that he wasn't going to get away with not paying. I don't know. But so I already felt that he wasn't a man with integrity. As we're all dancing, having fun, he just suddenly slaps my friend's ass on the dance floor publicly. And I was so furious because that's a form of objectification. And I publicly berated him. And here's why I did it publicly, because he publicly humiliated her. He publicly humiliated her. So I felt that the appropriate response was to publicly humiliate him. And I said, "Don't you ever do that again. Don't you ever touch my friend like that." And of course, his first response was to deny he even did it. And I'm like, "I just saw you." But of course, they excuse it away. "I didn't mean anything by it." "Yes, you did." And what I noticed is that another female friend pulled him over aside and just quietly talked to him. No, embarrass the fuck out of him. We've got to make it so goddamn uncomfortable that they'll stop. There's no consequences for this bad behavior. And until we give them one, they're not going to stop doing it. And as women, I know myself, I'm sure there are a lot of you as well that are reaching the same point where we don't care anymore what you have to say. First of all, you are claiming a loneliness epidemic, but you've created it. You've chosen to stick your heels in and treat women the way you always have through the centuries and stay in your patriarchy and be a misogynist. And as long as you do that, yeah, you're going to be lonely. In fact, you're going to get lonelier because more and more women like me are waking up and we are putting our foot down and we're saying no more. We're not going to accommodate this behavior. You know what? I'm single and I'm really okay with it. In fact, after this incident, I'm very okay with it. I don't know if I'll ever get in a relationship. And I'm not the only woman out there who's noticing this pattern. And we are deciding to be single on purpose, not because we feel alone or sad, but actually being alone is pretty peaceful. The price of admission for being in a relationship is becoming higher and higher than the price that I want to pay based on what I've observed. Because in the past 2 years, I haven't seen anything worth even dating. I haven't seen anything, let alone date, would be worthy of a relationship with me. And I'm kind of tired of looking for it. I'm kind of tired of waiting for it. I would rather put my energy into making my life even better than it already is. I have an amazing life. I have a great dog. I have a nice place to live. I have things that I like to do socially, and I don't care if I do it alone. The other thing that occurred to me is that this is really about toxic masculinity. What I saw and have been seeing is toxic masculinity. I talk a lot about how I want men to lead, how I want them to be the man, how I want them to be the one that provides. That's a healthy masculinity. I still think that is important. A man who is confident in himself doesn't need to make a woman small. He feels good about giving a woman her space because he doesn't need to control it or manipulate it. He doesn't need to insert himself. He doesn't need to control her, yell at her, abuse her. And not only that, when another man does, he's going to hold him accountable. A healthy masculinity is a man who's confident in himself, who's accountable for his behavior to everyone, man, woman, child, who holds others accountable to the standards he has now set. And he respects his woman. He's not threatened by her independence. In fact, he wants it. But a man who's wrapped up in toxic masculinity, while he shows the world how confident he is, he's not confident at all. When someone is being like that, like a narcissist, that's a perfect example, they are actually deeply insecure inside. So they overcompensate. You know, the guy in the gym that goes, ooh, all the time, every time he lifts a weight. That is such a big turnoff. I don't need to know that. I'm glad you're taking care of your body, but I really don't fucking need to hear you grunt. That's not attractive. You're trying to call attention to yourself. That is not healthy masculinity. A man who feels the need to berate a woman in public who he doesn't even know, who hasn't even done anything wrong, that's not healthy masculinity. That's toxic. Any man that thinks he is the center of the universe and that every woman should bow down and worship him is toxic. And men, if any of you happen to be listening, while this podcast isn't for you, it's for women. But if you happen to be listening, it's time to hold the other men accountable. If you're one of those, 1 to 5% that knows what I'm talking about and knows how wrong this is and knows that women deserve everything we've been asking for, now your role is also to hold those other men accountable. There was a video that I saw on social media recently where a man was beating his wife on the beach openly in public, like beating her. I've seen so many videos where people just walk away. But what I loved about this video is there was a group of men, probably 4 or 5 of them, that surrounded him. Not only did they pull him off of her to protect her, but then they pulled him aside and started beating the shit out of him. While I'm not a person that supports violence, what I do support is retribution. Just like when my friend slapped my friend's ass in public and publicly humiliated her, so I publicly humiliated him, it's tit for tat. He deserved to know what it felt like to be beat, to feel threatened. I'm not saying you have to beat the man up unless he's already beating a woman. Then you can choose how you're going to handle that. But at the very least, you have to speak up with your words. You have to protect her, get in between them and get him away from her. Hold him accountable. Because honestly, how I feel about it is men aren't going to listen to women. They've been discounting us for so damn long. And we're going to start with giving them consequences. But I think a more effective way to get this pattern of behavior to change faster is for other men to hold them accountable. And I get it. You don't want to be the one in the guy friends that loses all your friends because you speak up to someone that you either know or you don't know. You don't want society to look at you like you are weak. I think you're very strong. Personally, that's a strong man that's willing to risk judgment, that's willing to risk losing friends and family to stand up for what's right. But I'm telling you, until men are held accountable by other men, I don't really see this changing. Well, I'm going to continue to hold them accountable on my own, and they can suffer the consequences of their behavior because I don't have to accommodate it. Whether other men stand up to them or not, I'm going to, and I'm not going to accommodate that kind of behavior, and I'm not going to be quiet about it. And ladies, this podcast is all for you. And you're going to be hearing more from me about this because, like I said, something switched in me. It went beyond, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. It went to the core of my being of this has to stop. It went to, I'm so turned off by men in general right now. I'm going to continue to speak out, but I'm also going to reserve a lot of energy for building an amazing life. The energy that I was putting into dating and trying to find a man, hoping a man would show up. No, I'm going to rechannel that and I'm going to put that into me, It's what I've been doing. I'm going to do it more. And if a man does approach me, it's going to depend on how I feel that day, whether I'm going to be receptive. And if I am receptive, he's probably going to be put through a little bit of a vetting process. I'm okay with that. And this isn't about being a bitch. This is just about protecting my peace. And right now, I'm really not in a space to let a man in to try to interrupt that. Ladies, it's time for you to get fed up too, if you aren't already there, because I know a lot of you are. I've seen the online creators and I see their following. It's time to get fed up. It's time to stop apologizing for what isn't our faults. It's time to stop saying, I'm sorry. I was talking to a woman and every other sentence, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, came out of her mouth. And I looked at her and I said, you don't have anything to apologize for. And this wasn't even a situation where she was being yelled at. She just kept apologizing for things that weren't her fault. Don't apologize. Choose to invest in your peace and don't let any man interrupt it. And if he does, you let him know how unacceptable that is. Confrontation isn't always easy, especially when men are physically taller than us and larger than us. That can be very physically intimidating. I may be short. I'm only 5'2", but big things come in small packages. I've got a lot of spunk in me. So if you need to vicariously borrow mine for a while inside yourself, do it. But you've got to start stepping up. You've got to start standing up for yourself, saying no, and refusing to apologize. You have the power. It's time to act like it. Thank you for listening to You Have the Power, the road to truth, freedom, and real connection. Is something stirred in you today? Don't talk yourself out of it. That is how women lose themselves. Not all at once, just one quiet compromise at a time. If the episode challenged you, like it, share it, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. The life you want isn't waiting for you to be more confident. It's waiting for you to stop abandoning what you already know. Your voice has been there all along. Now, it's time to trust it.